Welcome to Genius Extracts. Today we are going to share the information about the history of New Zealand. Thank you for the good response on our previous videos about history of USA and story of Fiji.
Please like and subscribe for more content
Hope you like
this
video too. Let us get into the topic in hand. In the period between 1200 and 1300 AD, the first settlers most likely came from Polynesia. They used the ocean currents, winds, and stars to guide them as they explored the Pacific, discovering New Zealand along the way. However, some tribal legends claim that Kupe was the first Polynesian to find the New Zealand islands. He left for that place since fishing was difficult in his native Hawaii. It seems that a large octopus belonging to Kupe's rival Muterangi was the cause of the issue. Due to the length of the pursuit, Kupe ended up in New Zealand after setting off in his canoe to kill the octopus. He pursued the thing all the way to Cook Strait, also known as Rakawakawa, with a comrade known as Ngake, or Nahiu, in another canoe known as Twirarangi, where it was ultimately slain. Abel Tasman, a Dutch adventurer, was the first European to land in New Zealand in 1642. The term New Zealand was first given to us by a Dutch mapmaker, who called it New Zealand in Dutch. Unexpectedly, it was 127 years before another European made a trip to New Zealand. On the first of three journeys, the Englishman Captain James Cook arrived here in 1769. Then traders arrived frequently, followed by European whalers and sealers. By the 1830s, there was pressure on the British government to suppress crime and establish here before the French, who were examining New Zealand as a possible colony. First Governor of New Zealand William Hobson summoned gathering Maori leaders to sign a treaty with the British Crown on February 6, 1840, at Waitangi. Local chiefs signed the contract after traveling it across the nation, as far south as Foveaux Strait. The agreement that is now known as the Treaty of Waitangi, Te Tiraitai o Waitangi, was signed by more than 500 chiefs. The New Zealand Wars were a series of conflicts that took place in the middle of the 19th century between some Maori tribes, government forces, and their Maori allies, also known as Papa. European settlers put increased pressure on Maori to give up their land for settlement. Conflict resulted from this, and the North Island experienced war in the 1860s. During or after the 20-year battle, the government confiscated or purchased a significant amount of Maori land. Although exact numbers are unknown, the wars may have claimed the lives of 560 British and colonial soldiers, 250 Papa, and 2,000 Maori who opposed the Crown. A total of around 1 million hectares of land were first lost by Maori who had battled the Crown. However, some of that land was later given back. In the meantime, everything was going extremely well in the communities in the South Island. On the vast grasslands, settlers built sheep farms, and Canterbury rose to become the richest province in the nation. In 1861, gold was found in Otago and later on the west coast, making Dunedin the largest settlement in New Zealand. The government assisted thousands of Britons in the 1870s in establishing new lives in New Zealand. Towns grew or expanded, and railroads were constructed. The first cargo of frozen meat from New Zealand reached England successfully in 1882, demonstrating the viability of exporting chilled meat, butter, and cheese. A significant supplier to Britain was New Zealand. A large portion of the forest that formerly blanketed New Zealand was destroyed for farmland because of the country's agricultural-based economy. New Zealand was the first nation to give all women the right to vote in 1893. Soon after, New Zealand became the first nation to provide workers with state housing and, in the late 1930s, state pensions. New Zealand sent troops to fight for Britain in the South African War in 1899 because it wanted to demonstrate its allegiance to the British Empire. It was the first conflict in which New Zealanders were deployed to fight abroad. The people of New Zealand became more aware of their own nationalism. They declined the opportunity to join the Australian Federation in the late 1890s. Instead, in 1907, New Zealand became a sovereign dominion. In the First World War, thousands of New Zealanders served and lost their lives abroad. For our nation, the 1915 landing at Gallipoli in Turkey marked a turning point. It established the ANZAC, Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, heritage and a sense of accomplishment for New Zealand's military prowess and unique relationship with Australia. Every year on April 25, the nation observes Anzac Day as a public holiday to honor the Gallipoli landing. It is observed with festivities that draw larger crowds. Brief guides that have been translated into 3 languages have been developed by World War I to explain the history of the day and its significance to New Zealand today. In support of the United Kingdom, New Zealand troops fought overseas once more during the Second World War UK. The collapse of Singapore, however, caused New Zealanders to lose faith in Britain's ability to ensure their nation's security. It was the United States that guarded New Zealand against Japan during the Pacific War because the majority of our men were essentially stranded in Egypt and the Middle East. New Zealand participated in the Korean War in the 1950s and the Vietnam War in the 1960s as a gesture of friendship with the United States, despite strong public resistance. Britain was a significant and reliable market for our agricultural products. But New Zealand lost that significant market when the United Kingdom joined the EC in 1973. This dealt a blow to both the nation and our commercial sector. Fortunately, New Zealand had already started to diversify its export industry. As a result, when Britain entered the EC, it inspired New Zealand to broaden its horizons. Their agricultural products as well as many other exports are currently sold to several nations. New Zealand has expanded its cultural diversity. A variety of ethnic groups have been encouraged to move here, especially since the 1980s, and New Zealand is now much more cosmopolitan. 25% of New Zealanders were born abroad, 15% are Maori, over 12% are Asian, and over 7% are from Pacific Island countries, according to data from the 2013 National Census. Following English, Maori, and Samoan as the most widely spoken languages in New Zealand is Hindi.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more contents like this.